Hey, Jesse.
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
Yeah, we hug each other.
Exactly.
And John?
Great to see you.
Would you like a hug too?
We're good.
So, Jesse, you're the world champion of kitesurfing.
I mean, you could call me that, yeah, among other things.
Yeah. I mean, in one of, I mean, there are many ways you can kitesurf, right?
There's many ways you can kitesurf. There's many different contests and this and that, but I won the tour for a while, and I have done different things in kiteboarding that people think were cool. And
so we met in Maui in a different outfit.
So Loic, maybe before we start questions, we have a video to show the audience, to give them a little bit of context about Jesse, so maybe we should roll the video.
Yes, John, please.
Yeah, then we get into, then we'll get into the questions.
Absolutely.
Great.
Tough life, huh?
Could be worse.
So, Jesse, obviously, at 21 years old, you were the reigning freestyle King of the Year champion that took place in January of 2013 in Cape Town, South Africa. And maybe you could just describe to people, leading up to that event, kind of what it took to get there, and then the experience in Cape Town.
Yeah, well, that was a really cool event for kiteboarding because there's so many different realms of kiteboarding. There's freestyle where you do tricks, there's wave riding, there's racing, and that's one of the cool things about the sport. There's so many different things you can do with it, and my personal favorite is the aspect of going as big as you can go. So the Red Bull King of the Air was all about everything else aside. We don't necessarily care about the technicality, how big can you go. So that was a really fun event to do because you have a bunch of riders that get together, and it's really during the best conditions. So we had a long holding period, waited for the right day, and that was in Cape Town, and it was like 40 knots or like, 5 to 10 foot waves, and it was an incredible arena for kiteboarding, and it was an incredible day. People went ridiculous heights, doing crazy things, and I had a really awesome day. I was really stoked, had a great time, and fortunate enough to have a lot of things go my way, and ended up winning that event. And that was one of the coolest things for me because it was just, the event originated on Maui in 1999 to 2005, and as a kid, that was the dream. That was the ultimate setup, and to then win it in Cape Town was pretty phenomenal.
Well, it's great. Well, most of us, when you accomplish something at that level, you'd want to take some time off, but instead, after that, you quickly got onto a project, and the film showed a little bit of that. He almost looks like he's flying up in the air, coming down. You worked with a team for several months to try to break a record, and you accomplished that goal. So without telling people too much, why don't you describe this experience and this record you broke this last summer?
Well, the King of the Air kind of really inspired me to get out there. I was like, okay, I really found my own and what I wanted to do with the sport. I was like, okay, this is where the sport gets really fun. This is where we can go crazy with it. And one of the ways that I really wanted to show that was by doing something different, because kiteboarding is still a young sport. It's only been around for about 15 years, and it's almost getting set into these paths that are, we're doing these kind of tricks, or we're doing these kind of tricks, and if you don't do that, it's not cool. And I completely disagree. I think we can do anything with it. So I went out and I worked with this crazy badass pro, like base jumper paraglider, who took his paragliding winch setup. So we have a speedboat, me behind it, and essentially I had a rope going from the boat to me. It was a windy day in Hood River, Oregon. The boat just starts jamming up the river. So I'm basically wakeboarding behind the boat. Then I pop up with my kite, and I use that to almost parasail up. There's got a hydraulic payout winch thing that basically just lets me sail up. So he's going up the river, and I flew up to 790 feet, at which point I released and then kited all the way down. And it was kind of stressful because there was definitely some risk involved from like 100 to 300 feet. You're kind of in a really scary zone, because we could call that the dead zone, where if something breaks, there's not enough time I had a little front mounted reserve parachute, and at that height there's not enough time for it to deploy. So if something broke at that time, it could be potentially a fatal fall. But I took every precaution that I thought I could, and it all worked out, and I flew down and I landed and rode away. So it was pretty cool, and it was a good vessel for me to send the message that there is really nothing that, or not nothing that we can't do with a kite, but there is so much we can do with a kite, and I don't want to see people try and limit ourselves with it, because we have so far to go, and this is just trying to push it in that direction. That
makes a lot of sense. I mean, we're here at LeWeb and amazing entrepreneurs, and you've been part of the web now for the last day and a half. When you think about fear and risk, and you try to contemplate that as it relates to entrepreneurship, I'm just curious what goes through your mind, because you take a tremendous amount of risk. One thing I wanted to point out, which Loic attempts to do when he's kiteboarding, but you may have noticed he unhooks from his harness, and he's got the handle, and he's free. He's basically free from his harness, so he has to do that to make those 360-degree rotations. If anything goes wrong there, that's pretty scary stuff.
Well, it's definitely one of those things where you have so much that can go wrong. You know, with everything that we do, we have so much that can go wrong. And it's funny, I'll talk to different athletes and different riders, and you'll definitely see the people that say, you know, fear, risk, I just put that out of my head. I don't even think about it. It's not, you know, I forget about that. No, I just like I'm going. And I think kind of differently on that. I think that, no, I get scared shitless. It's like, I mean, the toe-up, I was freaking out. I was really nervous, because there is a lot of risk involved. And, you know, one thing I like to do is, like, in Maui, we'll go out to this wave, Jaws. And Jaws is this ridiculously huge wave in Maui. It's one of the craziest things. And you all have surfers that go out there and charge it. And we've been kind of dabbling with it with kiting. And it's cool. You'll go up and you'll assess the situation. So we'll go up on this cliff. You have to drive through all these cane fields and get down there, you look at the wave, okay, it's windy, or it's huge, you know, 30 to 50 foot waves. And then the wind starts picking up. I'm like, all right, now it's my time. All the surfers, it's kind of getting too windy for them. So I'll go out on the jet ski, and we're taking every safety precaution we can. You know, we have a rescue ski. I have big flotation vest. I'm, you know, done a lot of training to get up to this point where I feel comfortable in waves that big. But before you know it, you're on this wave, and you're riding down this thing, and it's like, you know, you're like, you're on the swell, it's cool, okay. Then all of a sudden you turn around, you're like, what? There's just this wave just coming up behind you. And you're at the bottom, you're like, wow, well, there's no turning back now. Like, I've gotten to this point where beyond the point of turning back, there's nothing I can do. If I want to give up, no, the lift's going to come down and crash on me, and I'm going to get worked, and it's going to wish I never done it. Well, that's kind of like one of those moments where you look at it, you're like, okay, this is like, that's when I get really scared. That's when you get the best high ever out of that. Like in the toe up, in this kind of, with Jaws, you just have those moments where you're in just shock, and it just goes split second, okay. And that's where you have the moment to perform. That's where you have the moment to, okay, what am I going to do with this? Well, what I want to do, what I see envisioning myself is, okay, I'm going to bottom turn up and maybe pull into the barrel and be inside this huge 50-foot wave and just feel the power of this wave, feel everything, and you know, ideally I'll come riding out of that, and it'll be the coolest experience of my life. There'll be, you know, photographers will get the photos, everyone will have that glory moment. Everyone looks at, dude, you're the man, I was so cool, I was awesome. Or, you know, I'm going to trip at the bottom of the wave because there's a little piece of chop that I tried everything I could to prevent it from falling, but you know, there's always something. There's always something that we don't expect, and you know, you trip and you fall, boom. You have that moment, you look up, you're like, oh, this is gonna be fun.
But your point was, once you make the decision, you go.
Oh, you're committed from, I mean, you know, you're looking at it and you're assessing the situation, but once you're out there, once you're committed, you are committed. And there's nothing you can do to turn back. And there's nothing you should do to turn back, because it's not about that. It's about the commitment. It's about going out there and looking at it and realizing, okay, there are so many things that can go wrong here. There is so much that can go wrong, but I'm not going to focus on that. I see what I want to do, and I know how to do it. So I'm going to focus on that, and I'm not going to let that fear of failure keep me from doing that. So more often than not, you are going to fall at the bottom of the wave, and you're going to get pounded. Kite's going to blow up, board's gone, everything's gone. You're under the water for, you try holding your breath right now. You know, you could probably like try holding your breath, and I could do, you get pounded for a minute, for 30 seconds with this wave, 30 seconds to a minute, and you try and hold your breath for 30 seconds to a minute right now, it'll be, somewhat difficult. Now imagine getting ragdolled, not knowing which way is up, like just all sorts of craziness. It's really difficult, but I know I can push through that. I know I can get that. I've trained for that. All right, there is that risk, but I'm not going to let that keep me from.
And it's such an inspiration for business, right?
Well,
so Jesse has been my part-time instructor, which is totally wrong, of course. But when we go to Maui to this event called Mai Tai that you should all look at, it's hundreds of entrepreneurs who gather in Maui, in Cabarete. If you want it to become a full-time job, you can. But it's a great source of business and inspiration. And usually you start a kitesurfing too, John. And it's tough.
I mean, you prove that point. I look at you, I'm like, hey, Loic, try this. Pull one side of the bar really, really hard. And I'm watching him, and he'll just, boom, and break everything.
That's me, yeah.
But
there is this move called the kite loop, where the mega loop, where you jump, and as you jump as high as you can, and in Maui you can jump really high because there are big waves, not the ones that you ride, but I go to the baby ones. And when you're really high, you have Jesse telling you, yeah, now just pull one side. What do you mean pull one side? And you grab like this, and we call it T-bar. So you grab one side, and you wait. You just wait. And the kite will go down and 360, and when it goes down, it pulls you laterally like this, like really strong. And Jesse's like, yeah, go for it. Just don't think. Just do it, right?
Exactly, and that's what it's all about. Is I love watching you out there and seeing Loic just go flying and then crashing, just breaking everything. That's great.
Breaking my bones.
I mean, that's how you're gonna learn, and that's why you are the entrepreneur that you are. That's because you're not afraid of failure. You're not afraid to go out there and try, and that's why you really embrace the entrepreneurial spirit. That's why you'll see the kiteboarders that embrace that side of it, of not being afraid to go for it, and whatever it is, whether it's doing the toe up, whether it's riding jaws, whether it's you doing the kite loop, whether it's you doing you guys being an entrepreneur, you're not gonna let the fear of failure keep you from trying. You're gonna take that into account with everything you can. Of course, you're gonna try and make the best calculated decision.
It's the same in business. If you focus on the failure, you're screwed. You do nothing.
Exactly. You gotta keep moving forward and go for it and see what happens.
So Jesse, I know everyone's into announcing this next day and a half, so I know you have something to announce, but before we get to that, you are obviously coming back to Cape Town to attempt to retain your title, and so maybe you could tell us a little bit about what's gone into the preparation for 2014 King of the Air Challenge.
Well, that event, I mean, last year was really funny. We all go out there and we all ride really hard, and in those conditions, it's pretty gnarly. So, like after the contest, I mean, there's not a single rider that could really walk good. Like, everyone was pretty beat up. So there's been a lot of training just in going into, okay, let's plan for the worst. I know I'm going to beat myself up. Okay, let's get really strong. Let's get ready for that impact. So, been focused on kind of trying to get as strong as I can so I don't die.
Tell me about kiteboarding in general. Where do you think the sport's going? Right, as many of you know, it came really close to getting to Rio de Janeiro Olympics in '16, and then a bit of a fight with the windsurfers, and it's now out. So what do you think happens with kite racing and kiteboarding and freestyle kiting?
This is still a really young sport, and it's starting to come into its own. And I love seeing events like the King of the Air pop up, and there's more and more, and there's more people being interested in the visually incredible, visually just ridiculous, mind-blowing aspects that we have of kiteboarding. And that's what I've been trying to push with everything I do is showing kind of the world, showcasing what we can do with a kite. And I don't think that the current structures for contests in kiteboarding are really there yet, because they're based on a 1 week holding period, and we don't one thing with kiting is it is very condition dependent, but in the right conditions you can't beat it.
But it is an international sport all over the world, right?
All over the world. It's pretty incredible how many places you can kite and how many places people do kite. It is ridiculous.
It's amazing how many French folks have come up to you to take pictures next to you because their little brother or their sister is kiteboarding here in France, and
it's kind of cool. There is such a kite scene, and it's a small community, but it's a really strong community because once you kite, you're hooked. I mean, I challenge anybody to go out there and kite and say, it's boring. You know, once you get into it, it is a tough learning curve, but you put in the initial get-go.
Well, the thing is that it never ends.
It never ends.
Because you have all the tricks, and you learn 10 tricks, and then you have more tricks, and then you have the dangerous tricks. Yeah. And the dangerous tricks have no limit. You're the limit. Your bones are the limit. Because what you forget to say is how many pro kiters have their, how do you call this in English? Ligaments?
Yeah, I mean,
how do you call it in English?
The ligaments.
Ligaments.
You can break anything.
Did you break your ligaments already?
I mean, I've broken a lot of things, but it comes with the territory. I'm ready for that. I want that, and I know. And that's another thing is that's been really a learning experience for me to see. Okay, I've got to the point where you feel like you'll never be able to walk again. You feel like this doesn't work. This doesn't work. That doesn't work. Like, it doesn't work. But to be able to see that progression of okay, it's a slow process, but no, I'll get back there.
Then you'll switch to business. It's okay.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm going to have a super pimp wheelchair when I'm older.
Well, I know we definitely want to leave time for one question, but maybe you could now disclose what you're up to next, because I know you're up to something pretty nuts to top your toe up in Oregon. So what's next for Jesse Richman? What can we expect in 2014 after the King of the Year Championships?
Well, I've been thinking a lot about how we can do different things with the sport, and the toe up was really fun because it was a way to get really high, and I went super high. That was really cool. I've never been that high before with a kite. It was kind of a trip, but I was thinking it'd be really cool to go to see how high we can go on the water, and I was thinking that a really cool spot to do that would be actually to go to Jaws. And everyone looks at this wave, it's like a wave coming in, and the wave's moving at about 30 miles an hour. The water being sucked up, it's moving at about 30 miles an hour. So you have this thing, there's like 60 mile an hour water flying out. It's about a 40, 50-foot wall. You have an updraft going up it. So instead of doing what it's been, known for around the world of surfing and riding it, which is incredible, I think it'd be really cool to
Isn't that interesting?
Go off it.
He thinks
use it as a ramp.
Use it as a ramp.
Exactly.
So you're going to use a 40, 50-foot walled wave as a ramp.
I mean, I think that'd be fun.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
I think it'd be exciting. See what happens. Yeah. You don't know until you try.
You'll send us the video.
You'll have to send us that video. Well, are there any questions for Jesse as we wrap up? And Loic, do you have any?
I am not sure we're set up for questions.
Well, we don't set up.
But I can ask you a question. John, why are you? So you're one of the leaders of Silicon Valley Bank.
Yeah.
What is Silicon Valley Bank?
What is Silicon Valley Bank?
Yeah.
Well, we're a bank based out of Silicon Valley, California, that's global, and our mission is to help build the innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem throughout the world, whether it be China, here in Europe, out of the UK, India, Israel, or the US. And
what makes it special?
I think,
for the entrepreneurs here?
Yeah, I mean, I think we understand you. We know what you're going through, and so we look at the local banks and how they treat you, and we try to eliminate all that friction. And you've been hearing a lot in the last day and a half about friction. Boy, banks put a lot of friction in front of their clients, and so we think we've solved that, and so that's our mission.
There are banks of startups. I'm an angel. I do a lot of investing, and I have to say 95% of my wire transfers when I send some money to invest in a startup are going to Silicon Valley Bank. That's always a proof that there is.
Well, so we appreciate that, Loic.
You have an amazing market share there, at least in Silicon Valley. So I appreciate that you've been such a great friend to LeWeb'. And you're a kite surfer too?
Of course, it's an amazing sport, and Silicon Valley Bank is very supportive of the Mai Tai community, and this is a global phenomenon of entrepreneurs coming together with professional kiteboarders, and it's just, as you know, it's just an incredible experience when those two things come together under a passion of kiting and risk-taking. So.
And Europe-wide, you're present in London for now, right?
Correct.
But they can talk to you if you're in Paris?
Absolutely. Love
you should talk to John. He's an amazing, amazing person, and if all the banks were like Silicon Valley Bank, the lives of entrepreneurs would be better. But he doesn't need the other banks to be the same.
That's right.
You should talk to John.
And congratulations to you, Loic and Geraldine. It's an incredible conference.
Thank you, John.
Happy to be part of it.
Jesse, keep rocking.
Thank you. Thank you. That's the plan.
Thank you, guys.
Right on. Thank you, guys.
That was a great session.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Fun to see you on this side of it.
Yeah, it's a different side. You'll see me in a mega loop again and breaking my bones.